Let's go from the most northern point in the United States to the most eastern part of North Carolina. These beaches along the Atlantic Ocean have been named some of the best in the country. The sandy shoreline brings in millions of tourism dollars every year. It's the best place to understand the effects of climate change in the Tar Heel State.
Sea level is rising, and when you go to these islands and the houses that are in the water today weren't built there. In many cases, such as North Topsail Island and at Nag's Head and Rodanthe, it's not the first row of houses. They're already on the second, in some places even the third row of houses. Well, give me a break.
Dr. Stan Riggs is a geologist at East Carolina University. He studies the effects of climate change along the North Carolina coast. Riggs is convinced the future of coastal communities is going to change.
If you're building a structure, a hospital, or a sewage treatment plant, or a water pipeline system that's expected to last 50 years, you better think about what is it going to look like 50 years from now.
Seas are rising, there's no doubt about that, and we know that seas are going to continue to rise. Will they rise at a more rapid pace or less rapid pace? That depends in large part on what happens with global emissions.
Robert Henson is a meteorologist and a science journalist.
I wrote this book, The Thinking Person's Guide to Climate Change.
He points out greenhouse gases are not just a problem in the atmosphere. The ocean is also absorbing carbon dioxide as well.
Yeah, this is kind of the less appreciated side of climate change, I think. There's not a whole lot that's reported on the fact that the oceans are becoming more acidic over time.
In some places, this can actually be seen on small marine organisms. Their ability to form shells is one of the threats in that regard, and relatively small changes can make a big difference to some organisms.
And you can't live on the coastline without worrying about storms.
This wind is expected to pick up as the Saturday afternoon wears on.
So what is your best guess as to how the overall hurricane landscape will change?
Generally around the world, as a consequence of global warming, you're going to see an increase in the frequency of the high category, Cat 3, 4, 5 storms.
Dr. Kerry Emanu is a professor and climate researcher at MIT.
And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about North Carolina hurricanes.
Hurricanes and climate change are one of his pet projects. Can you see the Outer Banks being in danger within the century, or would it take longer than that?
Oh, I think absolutely they're in danger. I would say they're in danger now.
But back in Alabama, Dr. John Christie just doesn't see it.
And these notions of extreme weather changing, we don't find it. Whether you're talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, heat waves, droughts, floods, they're all pretty much like they've always been. And they're going to continue to plague us, but not really changing.
With sea level rise and with the possibility of increased storm intensity, that threat just goes up very quickly. And so the question is, what do you do about that?
It's a question that extends beyond our state. Here in the Rocky Mountains, about 12,000 feet above sea level along the Continental Divide, there is also evidence from the folks at the Rocky Mountain National Park that climate change is occurring here, and it's not good. Warmer temperatures may cause the tree line to climb higher, drier weather can increase fire danger, and wetlands could disappear. Back up in Barrow, they're already seeing some of those changes. Ryan Klimstra is from Hendersonville, North Carolina. He spent 4 years at NC State getting his master's degree in biology.
It's the only job I applied for when I was finishing graduate school, and I was fortunate enough to get it.
He studies animals in the Arctic region and sees the impact on herds.
There's been large declines in caribou over the past 5-10 years, and it's hard to say what there's no smoking gun, but and it's hard to say that climate change is solely to blame, but the climate, at least these weather patterns are having something to do with it.
Pattern is the key word there. Some of Klimstra's neighbors believe that what we're experiencing is just a natural pattern of the Earth's climate.
I truly believe that we were in a high, and now we're hitting that midpoint, and within another 70 years, in my heart of hearts, I think we're going to start hitting some lows.
Okay, so we'll cool back down again.
We'll cool back down again.
Okay.
And I think that that's just a normal cycle.
But the science just doesn't show it. So far, we've been dealing with cold, hard facts, science, real observations made by human eyeballs. But things are never as simple as they appear. In a moment, the politics and religion of climate change.